Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how you are going to 3D print your house. And we're going to do it by levels. So if you have multiple levels, you'll be printing each individually. And then the roof separate as well. Because if we were to print it like one solid piece like this, the inside of the house, if I just hide my roof here, all of this inside would be filled up with what's called support on the 3D printer, so it has a spot to like put the roof. So we're going to do it by level, and that way you can also like take it apart and see inside. So first thing you are probably going to want to do is save your house to a flash drive. So if you have it open on your computer and you go and you have a flash drive plugged in, you do save as a project. And then you will go to my computer and it should show up a flash drive there. I'll show you what that looks like. So this is my flash drive that's called FlashShacker. So I'd put it on there and save it in there because we only have a couple of computers that have this special STL exporter for REVIT on it. And what we'll do is have like one student log in on it, and that way you don't have to like recreate your profile every time. So by having it on a flash drive, you can just open it on that computer and do what you need. So once you're on one of those special computers that's listed in Schoology, which ones they are, you are going to want to break down your house by the floor. So I actually found a cool trick in here while I was playing around with this, is if you hover over in by this view cube, there's this little down arrow, and you're going to go to Orient to View, Floor Plan, and I'm going to start on Floor Plan Level 1. So what this does is it rotates around and it shows me this floor plan, but if you notice, I'm still in 3D, so I can rotate and see everything. So I do have a ceiling on this first floor, so I'm going to hide that. And everything else should be okay, because we are going to end up choosing, it's not going to print all of our furniture and stuff because that would they probably wouldn't turn out too well and they're going to be really small. So now that I have my first floor all set up, if you have like a deck that you don't want to 3D print, you can totally hide that as well. I'm going to see what mine looks like. So once you have it all set up, you go to this add-ins tab and you should see this STL exporter for Revit if you're on one of those special computers that have it downloaded. And when you open it, you're going to keep all this the same, so general, binary, but in categories, you can see it lists like everything possible in here. So we only want to choose a couple of these. So we're going to do check none. And then we are going to do doors, floors, stairs, windows, and walls. Where if there is other things you want to put in, like plumbing or casework or furniture, you can definitely try. And then when you click save, it's going to ask you like, what do you want to call it? And I would just throw it on that flash drive that you have, or like desktop so you can find it. So I have my first floor. I'm going to call this first floor 2 and save it. So then I would then go in here, go to my view 3D floor plan level 2. And then I do the same thing for level 2. And it's not, even though it shows my roofs right now, it won't print that because we didn't select roofs in that like list of everything. So you do want to like make sure that you have a floor and all of that. So I think my floor is hidden. So I have to bring my floor back, or else if something's hidden, it wouldn't print. So you do your second floor, STL exporter, choose doors, floors, stairs, walls, and windows. And then what I would do to be able to do your roof is just orient to view, 3D view, and view 1 should be like your normal classic 3D view. And from here to do your roofs, you do STL exporter, categories, check none, except for roofs. And save, and then you save it as roofs. So once you have them all saved,
All right, so one thing I found out with 3D printing our house is that it doesn't like to make the floor. So we're going to use another program to add in a floor basically to make sure you can actually 3D print it and have a working model of your house. So it is online called Tinkercad. It's a really simple CAD program that we're going to use here. So you're going to have to click sign up and you're going to create a personal account and just like sign in with Google, do all of that. I'm going to sign in with my normal personal account, sign in with Google. And yours should open to be kind of like this, but empty. So you're going to do a new 3D design. And you can already see my other one in there. And you're going to import your floor plans. So choose a file in your downloads and just do import. Keep it all the same. All right, so just keep it this same scale. We'll change the scale in our 3D printing program. But basically, like you can see that it kind of has a floor, but it's so thin that the 3D printers don't register it. So we're going to end up adding in a floor using this red cube. So in here, I'm going to rotate around. There's this little triangle, and we're going to move it up 2. And then with our box, we're going to shrink this down. So this white little box on the top, we're going to shrink that down to 2. And I'm not using a mouse, so it's a little tricky. But then you can bring this over, and actually we can look at it from the bottom. And you're going to basically create a floor under your house. So if you want to do your deck, if you have one, you can do that. Or if you're just doing your house. So I do actually need another little one for that little entryway. So I could just copy and paste this guy. So I just say Control C and Control V. Oops. And you just want to try and get it like right on the edge of your house. If it's popping out too far, because mine is like snapping to every 1 millimeter, I can see over here, I'm going to change this down to like 0.25, and that should let me get a little bit more exact on our wall so it looks nice when we print it, that it all looks like one piece. All right. Oh, you might want to like rotate around to like make sure it's all good. So you're going to do that for your first floor, your second floor, your third floor. You don't need to do it for your roof because the roof can be open underneath. And then once it's good, we can just do export. You're going to do an STL, and it's going to give it a weird name, and that is okay. But then once it exports and is in your downloads folder, you're going to bring this into our 3D printing program called FlashPrint, which I'll show you next.
You're going to open up our program that we prep our files for 3D printing in. So it's called FlashPrint 5. It's on your desktop. So when you open it, you may ask you what type of machine we are on or what you'll be using. If it doesn't, just verify down here that it says Adventure 3 series. If it doesn't, machine type is Adventure 3. So you just want to make sure that that is correct because that is the type of file or type of 3D printer that we have. So from here, if you have your files on the desktop, you can just drag them in. If they're not where you can drag them easily, you have to go File, Load File, and then you can find it. So if you put them in your flash drive, you can do that. I'm just going to drag mine in because mine are right here. So here's that new first floor. If this pops up, just do Repair Model. Okay. And this is where you'd want to, oh, come on. Zoom in with your scroll wheel to see what it all picked up. So you can see I have my stairs, all of my walls, my doors and window cutouts. And then the left click is how we can, or right click is how we can rotate around so you can make sure it picked up what you wanted. Maybe you don't want your deck. Then you could go back in, hide it, re-export it, or something didn't come through. You can figure out what that setting is that you need to have it come in. So that looks good for me. So I'm going to grab my move and just move it off to the side. So that's my first floor. And then I'm going to bring in my second floor and repair. Okay. And again, you can check that it all looks good. You do want to make sure that it's blue underneath, and that means it's on our build plate of the 3D printer. And I'm just going to kind of do that. So there's my first floor, my second floor. Now I need my roof, or however many things you have, you're going to bring in. So my roofs came in funky. They're like one's up high, one's down low. So, oh, I actually have two. So that wouldn't print out too well. So we need to rotate it so that they're both on the build plate. So if I do rotate, let's try the green. So I want them both to be like flat. And if for some reason you can't get it to both be flat, I'm going to want mine to stand upright on their edge. It's going to print a lot better. So I need to do what's called is cut apart these two prints because they're like locked in. I can't do one thing to one and not the other. I want to separate them so that I can. So there's this cut tool that I can get this big red circle to go between the two, cut them, and now they are separate models that I can move around. So I want this one to be on the platform, and I'm just going to double check that that one's on the platform. All right, so I'm just going to kind of move things a little closer. If you had things super far apart in here, it's going to take longer for the 3D printer because it's going to have to travel a lot more. So if you put things close together, or like the roofs, they're going to go back and forth for a while because those are a lot taller than everything else. If they're closer together, it'll print faster because they're near each other. So from here, we're going to print. You might, if you have like arches and stuff, you might need to add in supports. So supports are needed wherever there's something that like hangs out. So like so that it has something to build on, basically. Actually, I wonder if I flip my roof. Okay, if I for some reason had my roof like this and did supports, auto supports, it would need to add in the support underneath so that it had something to build on top of. It can't print in the air, it would just droop down. So I'm gonna rotate that back. And I wonder if you have to click the model that you want to put supports on. There we go. So it will only do it like model by model. And I was trying to like do it on my doors and stuff. And the support stuff you can remove after it prints, and you can remove it now. So if I click like this little garbage can, I can get rid of like the ones in my doors and windows. But I think the arc and the stairs, I'm going to need it in. So this is just where the computer thinks there's too much of an overhang for the printer, but that's really not a whole lot there. So it wouldn't hurt to like click on each of your models and see what supports it adds. If it's only adding on the doors and windows, you can just do clear supports and then it's good. But if it's added in other spots, you'll probably want to keep it. And then you just click back. So once you have them all set up in here, you're going to go to Start Slicing. And let's see how long it's going to take on standard. And Slice Preview. So this is going to show you what it's going to look like and also how long. So it says 1 hour and 30 minutes.